What's up, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of Westworld Season 3, Episode 4, The Mother of Exiles. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch my channel. So this episode is directed by famous cinematographer Paul Cameron. It's written by Gina Atwater and Lisa Joy, who Lisa Joy created the series. Okay. So this is a very interesting episode. If we finally get, Ed Harris back as the Man in Black. In this episode, he is basically hallucinating his daughter, who he killed in the last season. It's pretty crazy to think about because, he's still haunted by the fact that she was not only not a host, but he killed her thinking that she was a host. And now he is just like, who knows what's going on inside his head. There's been running themes about if he's a host, if he's like imagining things as, most of these hosts do in a lot of these episodes. And we get a lot of like hallucinations moments in the very beginning. We get him talking to, of course, the Tessa Thompson character, Charlotte, and he is just trying to like reconfigure himself. And Charlotte basically wants him to come back into reality to basically go and talk to the Delores group to kind of get everything back on track, to kind of get Delores back on track. But we find out later on that she's not really on the level, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's a very cool, interesting sequence between Charlotte and, of course, the Man in Black. The William character, Ed Harris, has always been interesting because he's always been kind of rough and tumble, but he has a lot of pain behind his eyes because he never really took care of his daughter. We see like in his early days of when the Jimmy character, I can't remember what his last name is, but the actor Jimmy, it's Jimmy Simpson, sorry. When he is basically wandering around this park, he is falling for Delores. After everything is said and done, he becomes a controlling stake owner of the park. So he's been wandering, looking for the end game of, of course, the Anthony Hopkins character for so many years and so on and so forth. And we just see like his state of mind, which is not all there. He is like imagining things. He's shooting like his house. I thought he was in like a place like in the very end of the second season where he was like in this study area where his like, his daughter was studying him or whatever. So I don't know how he got back to his house. Maybe he's just completely gone insane. Who knows? But then it leads into, of course, we have Delores and we have the character played by Aaron Paul, Caleb. We see her and, Caleb basically go to this bank, whatever, and basically drain all his money and stuff like that. And it's just a really kind of interesting moment because we're starting to see kind of the turn on Delores about how she is starting to like really use people as a running theme throughout this episode. But they go to a bank. There's this really tense moment where they're using the blood of this guy they like knock out so that they can take all the money. They go into the bank. It's similar to like, this is a really kind of weird thing to think about, but it's like almost like that scene in Ghost where you have Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Swayze going to the bank to basically take all the money from the guy who basically ended up getting Patrick Swayze's character killed. So it's a really tense sequence. I really like it. I really like how, Aaron Paul is having to go beyond what he is normally doing in this series. We see Delores willing to do whatever it takes to get the money, to making sure everything succeeds by if she has to kill people. It's a really fascinating sequence, but it's starting to lead into an idea of Delores maybe doing things on her own. Then as everything is going around with them, everything is going to come to a head eventually at this party, this masquerade party. But we also have the Thandie Maeve character. We have the Vincent Cassell Sarah character. And they are having discussions. Basically, Sarek is giving her the option of she does this, goes after Delores to stop her, to do whatever she needs to do to stop these, what we're finding out are like 4 or 5 hosts that are basically been put out to the wild thanks to Delores. So of course we have like the Bernard character, the Jeffrey Wright character, he's out there because of her. Of course that's a Thompson character, and there's other characters that have been put out into the wild to basically help Delores succeed in her plan, which is to kind of take over the world. I guess she's like peeking in the brain. She's like taking over the world, but she's doing it in a very interesting way. And we find out that, Sarek has a lot of history behind this whole Westworld and Delores and so on and so forth. We see like an early shot of him in his past where we see a big nuclear explosion, I guess you could say, which is really fascinating. I really kind of enjoy that sequence because it's very short, it's very quick. But we know that Sarek there's something behind his actions, behind what he's doing, who he is, that is making him do these things. And it brings us to a sequence where basically Maeve is confronted basically there's this guy that is put in a chair, and there's a really cool sequence where he puts Sarek puts glasses on this guy, and it shows him like two alternate worlds where if he gives up the information he that needs to about helping Delores, that he will let his family live. Sarek's character will let his family live, and then the opposite, so on and so forth. And then he ends up shooting the guy because he considers him a traitor. But it's a really fascinating thing because we usually see from that point of view of him seeing his family and stuff like that. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing what he's basically showing the Maeve character, what is going on and what is happening. And he basically tasks her to go after these other hosts, I guess you could say, which leads into probably one of my favorite sequences in the entire series, where she is able to manipulate the system, manipulate electronics, manipulate gun tech and stuff like that, manipulate everything that she can that involves computers, involves tech. She's almost like Neo in the host form, I guess you could say, which is really fascinating. And so it leads her to basically this woman who is able to bring her to the Yakuza, and the Yakuza has information that will help her find one of the hosts. And it leads her to this, I don't know if it's a silo or what it is, but basically Sato, who was in the second season, was in the samurai world, I guess you could say. We get our big revelation that Sato and everybody else that was brought in from Delores is actually Delores. So therefore we have been basically tricked into believing that these are separate entities, but each of those little balls, the little pearls or whatever they want to call it, Delores basically made copies of herself. So she is Sato says it basically bluntly, if anyone could do it, I'll do it myself. So basically she's doing it herself. She's basically controlling everyone. I don't know about the whole Bernard character. I don't know if she's controlling him or not, whatnot. But for instance, the guy that she kills in, I think, the first or second episode of the series, of the season, is being controlled by Delores. The Tessa Thompson character is being controlled by Delores. All these characters that have become hosts are controlled by Delores. So basically Delores is kind of like an multi-dimensional character where it's really, really cool to see. It's really fascinating that Delores has basically taken over all these hosts, and she's manipulating them in every single form or fashion. So that's really fascinating. So we see Sato again. Sato ends up killing Maeve. Yakuza people leave. The Sarek people are gonna, bring back Thandie Newton's character, I'm assuming. And it leads into basically the very end of the episode where the Ed Harris character is still, like I said, imagining his daughter with him, because she's like, for instance, like an imaginary character or whatever. And he goes out there and said, I'm going to forget you, blah, blah, blah. And Tessa Thompson's Charlotte character basically says, are you still talking to your daughter? And that's when everything kind of blows open, because he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I know you're talking to your daughter. You can't give up the fact that, you killed her, blah, blah, blah. And this is where the Man in Black learns. This is basically where everything blows open, where we start learning that all these characters are run by Delores, because Charlotte basically says she's Delores. And basically the guys that are there that he thinks are with Delos are really guys that work for a mental institution. So basically, if you know anything about the world of I don't know if this is a film thing or really in the world of, corporatization or whatever, but if a person owns a staking share of a company and he's proven to be insane, they can actually negate him as the shareholder of the company. Therefore, the next shareholder or whatever, the company gets back all the shares. So that's what Delores is doing. She basically played Ed Harris's character, the Man in Black, to make him look insane so that she can continue her quest to domination or whatever. At least what I'm thinking. And there's nothing he can do about it, because he ends up in an asylum, which is like a really nice looking hotel room. And he sees Delores, and she's in her season 1 outfit, the big dress and the gun belt or whatever. And he basically asks her the question that we've all been asking is, am I a host? Am I real? Am I really me? And it's left open because this is a mystery box of a TV show. And she says it's the end of the game or whatever. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. But it really leads into some really interesting territory, because Now that we're finding out that Delores is controlling all these people and she's manipulating the system to a point where she's able to start controlling Delos, and she's starting to control the market, she's starting to control these things, but it leads into like her end game, which is becoming more and more clear of she's wanting to take over the system, she's wanting to free herself and free the shackles of the entire corrupt system of what the human race is, which is full of people that abuse and use and reuse and so on and so forth. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. But the episode, just at first when I was watching it, I was like, this episode's okay, it's fine. But then like the revelations start happening. You realize that of course the Aaron Paul Caleb character is probably being used. She's like, oh, I'm going to tell you, we're going to show you the person who kind of screwed you over, made you the person you are. But we find out that she's basically using him, and it's really, really fascinating. Like I said, at the very end, Liam Gallagher sees, of course, the Delores character, and that's the end of the episode, and it leads into the what's coming next week, and it just looks like a complete chaos of intense violence and, you know, things just exploding in World War III, and it's just this season's got really, really crazy. Is it the greatest I've ever seen? No, but I think for something that started out really, really confusing in episode 1, it started to like really kind of turn itself into something really kind of unique. It's become completely different than what we saw in the first season, and it's making up for season 2 for how bad that season was. And I like the fact that, you know, the Vincent Cassell Sarah character was like, in her mind is the key to possibly going back to see her daughter, you know, the Maeve character. So I thought that was a little fascinating. But yeah, I mean, The Mother of Exiles is just a really fascinating episode. It's I'm really intrigued by what's going to happen in the next, 4 episodes, because it's only an 8-episode season. But for 58 minutes, I was completely enthralled with this episode. I really was. This is probably the best episode of the season so far, because it gives us so much information, so much, what is going to happen next. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Liam Hemsworth's character is a lot of fun to watch in this, because he's kind of the guy that's be controlled by Bernard. But there's always a funny thing when, especially with Maeve and especially with the Liam Hemsworth character, where when they get turned off or when they are basically told to stop, they don't know what to do with themselves, and then when they come back, they're like, why would you do that to me? So they know what's happening, and it's a really fun sequence. I really enjoyed that. I like the fact that Jeffrey Wright's character, Liam Hemsworth's character, they eventually confront the Delores character, which is a lot of fun. So, but yeah, it's a lot of moving parts that are slowly starting to connect into what's getting closer and closer to the season finale. Of course, a lot of these interconnecting parts won't finish out like they're supposed to until the next season. There'll be a lot of stuff left open, but for where we're going right now, I think it's really fascinating. So, but that's it. That's my take on The Mother of Exiles. Definitely a winner of an episode. Definitely intrigues me more and more as I watch it. But let me know in the comments below what you think of the episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you're confused by it, that's fine. It happens. It is Westworld. It's like Lost. Who knows what's going on, but a lot of times. But anyways, hit that subscribe button to join my channel. Hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. And comment below on any video to watch my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.